The Cellcast is recorded in front of a live streaming audience.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Cellcast. Joining me today is a man who, well, he's not a wolf, so that means he can't make the trip by himself. Welcome, Jacob.
Well, fiddlesticks. Like, I had everything packed and everything like that, but I'm getting discriminated because I'm not a full dog. Come on!
No, you're being discriminated because you're not a full wolf. There's a difference.
Oh, that is true. But I'm not full wolf. I'm not full dog. I'm not, what was that crazy movie we did a couple of years ago? It was my pick, and it was probably one of the worst movies we did.
100% wolf?
Yeah, 100%.
You're not a werewolf either.
No, I'm not a werewolf.
Is there going to be a sequel to that film?
Yeah, I saw that. I was, oh my word, this is going to be we're going to have to review because we reviewed the first one. Yeah, that's
we got a bunch of other sequels we need to eventually get to also.
We got so much.
But
all right. Why, thank you. Let me introduce our co-host, a man who just wanted all the glory for himself and probably all the biscuits too. Welcome, Drew. Biscuits.
Are they chicken biscuits? Sausage biscuits? Hash browns?
Let's go chicken biscuits.
Is it biscuits and gravy?
Gravy.
We are nuts. You know this?
You are not kidding. You are not kidding. Brace yourself, people. This is gonna be nuts.
Tonight, we are reviewing a classic film from our childhoods.
Some of ours.
Well, I say childhood. This is what, 95?
95.
This is around that time. I don't know if you technically consider me a child anymore because I'd have been 10.
Well, you're still a child until you're like
childish.
Yeah. Well, we're all.
Of course, by that definition, I'm still childish.
Yes, I agree. We are all a child at heart. I heard a coworker say that. It's like, yes, and
your point?
Yeah, your point.
We're reviewing Balto tonight since I hadn't gotten around to the name of this movie.
Yes.
The last of 3 films animated by Amblimation.
Yes.
Which means, unfortunately, we have to complete the hat trick at some point. Which means we'll eventually have to watch We're Back, a dinosaur story.
Oh.
Which, as a movie as a kid, I liked, but I already know I'm not going to like it anymore. You know, it's been 30 years probably since I've seen that film.
Probably.
And I already know I'm not going to like it. Is that sad?
Well, as we grow, our taste in movies change, and
that's true. That is very true.
Yeah, so it would be weird if we're watching a movie that you have a child's perspective on a film, and you never grew as a person or as a man or a woman in your growth. I've just lost my train of thought anyway. Anyways,
I don't have that thing on the soundboard anymore.
Oh no.
I like trains.
Either or.
That's going in the clips.
Yes. But yeah, oh my gosh. Like anyways, like I think we're coming off the tracks right now. Let's get back on the tracks.
On the tracks?
Well, we were barely on the track.
You are right. Let's go ahead and jump into our spoiler-free
thoughts exactly.
On Balto.
Jump right off the cliff.
Certified fresh and spoiler-free.
I know this is at least my second viewing. Because I know I did see this once as a kid, or at least around the time this would have been out on VHS. Yes, right. VHS.
Yeah.
And I know it played at school, I think, one time. Because I think that's where I originally saw it, split over the course of 3 class periods because we only watched 30 minutes before class ended.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, this is my first viewing in a long time.
Really?
This is just not one of those that sits in my memories that much. It was more like, oh yeah, Balto. I remember Balto. I kind of remember Balto. Did I watch Balto? No, I know I watched Balto. I just didn't remember it from when I was a kid. So this is the first time in a long enough time. It kind of might as well have been my first viewing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I watched. This is. I enjoyed the film for what it is. There are some historical issues we will be talking about at some point in this film.
A little.
Yeah.
A little.
This is opposite day, isn't it?
Yeah, apparently.
It's not a little.
No, it's not. It's enormous.
There's a lot. But for what it is, for a nice little story about overcoming your what people say about you, and overcoming your past, and how your background can make you stronger than the others. For that kind of film, this is actually a pretty good film. I actually enjoyed it very much, despite how my dislikes are going to sound later on.
Huh.
So yeah, what are your thoughts?
My let's see. I never actually saw this film growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I heard about it. It was never on the radar. I was like 12 when this came out. So, and I think over the years I saw clips of it. I saw maybe like a couple of minutes here and there, but I never. No, I really can't say that because the only time I really saw it was trailers. Okay. And I don't remember hardly anything in this film. I know the historical account of it, but the movie itself I never saw until this review.
Okay.
So for the review, I enjoyed the film tremendously. I think it's really good. I think as a child, I probably would have enjoyed it so much. Then my family would have probably sat down and talked about the actual history, pull out a history book, and it's like, oh, this actually happened, this and this and this. Well, that stinks. They didn't talk.
Of course, the dogs didn't talk in real life.
When you were a kid, when you were a child.
I know. It's just the thought, like, of course this film's inaccurate. The dogs talked. It's like, are you now going to tell me Homeward Bound: The Incredible Journey is not a true story either because the dogs and cat talked? There's more problems with that film than that, but...
Well, it's inner monologue. You never hear them actually talk. Well, never mind. I'm going to...
We're not going there. We're not going there.
Barf. But I'd be like, I really enjoyed this film. It's really hard. I got to keep remembering the watch at this camera.
We're still getting used to new setups.
Yeah,
so.
New setups, the whole bit. So, Ashley.
Now I'm going to have to cut around.
I really enjoyed this film. Again, historical inaccuracies beside that are the massive way in the back end of this ship that's going to pull it down. Mm-hmm. But overall, I enjoyed it. First time viewing it. And I think as if I was to watch this as a child, granted I was 12 years old when this came out, but if I was a child, I probably would have enjoyed it. As an adult, I still enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But the historian who wants to go and dig in all this wonderful detail of this event, yeah, it's not accurate at all. In any stretch of the imagination, it's correct.
I'll put it this way before we get too far into it.
Yeah.
I watched the film with no knowledge of what actually happened during the 1925 serum run that this is based technically on.
Yes.
Doing my research for this, and I came across just a couple of tidbits of information that made me want to dig in a little deeper. There's a reason my first dislike is going to be a bit of a rant. Let's just say.
Okay.
But we'll get there when we get there.
Yes. Yeah. So would I recommend this to families with kids? Absolutely. Now, granted, does everything in this movie be like? I keep touching back on the historical inaccuracies, but I think as a movie itself that is trying to tell a trying to tell a wholesome family story, it does its job. Historically, it doesn't. But painting with a very broad brush of inspired by true events.
Inspired is the word you should be using.
Yeah, inspired.
More on that later. Yeah,
more not based on true events, but inspired by true events.
We'll get there when we get there.
Yes, I agree. So yeah, I enjoyed this film. I think as a kid, I would have enjoyed it. There's just things here and there I don't like about it, but overall, I enjoyed this film.
All right. Why don't we go ahead and get into the spoiler-filled section, and we will
Yes.
get into this.
Yes.
The following is a spoiler-filled review for the film Balto. Listener discretion is advised. Balto was directed by Simon Wells, who also directed The Prince of Egypt. Among a couple other films I noted on there. That was the big one. It was also written by Cliff Ruby, Elena Lesser, David Stephen Cohen, and Roger S.H. Schulman. Getting into the cast, we've got Kevin Bacon as Balto, and he played Sebastian Shaw on X-Men First Class. And apparently enough other things that there's an entire internet game based around how many degrees an actor is from being in the same film as him.
It's a fun game. It's a fun game to play.
Oh, yeah. Bob Hoskins was the voice of Boris, the goose.
Yes.
And he was Eddie Valiant in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Which we've already reviewed, so go back and listen to that one.
And he was Mario in Super Mario Brothers from 1993.
Not the good Mario.
The one where he was drunk.
Yes, the entire time. What I understand.
Yeah, but he was drunk the whole time because that was the only way he could get through shooting of that movie. Bridget Fonda played Jenna, and she played Kelly Scott in Lake Placid. Jim Cummings voiced Steel, and in the animated Star Wars universe, he plays Hondo Onaka.
Yes.
And Phil Collins was the voice of Muck and Luck.
Oh, boy.
And he's the composer for Tarzan and Brother Bear.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that Phil Collins, the rock... Well, he's not really a rock star. He's not really a rocker.
He's rock.
Is he rock?
Yeah.
I have no idea where genres are
Journey,
anymore.
anybody?
He's Journey?
Yeah. He was the
It
Journey.
shows you how much I actually know about music.
There you go.
I never kept up with stuff. I didn't realize he was Journey.
Yeah, he was Journey's drummer, and he did his own thing. And what I recall, like his last tour, his last ever performance was with Journey. Now I may be mistaken, so someone in the comments or wherever, let me know where I'm wrong, because I might be wrong. Because I had a conversation with this the other day with somebody.
All right.
They were like, "Oh yeah, this and this," and it's like, "No, I think you're wrong. I think it was Journey." But either or.
Kingdom Hearts connections. How many do we have?
4.
No.
Lower or higher?
Lower.
2.
Lower.
1.
Yes, there is only one.
Oh, let me guess who that is.
Go ahead. Guess who it is?
Jim Cummings.
Yeah, it's Jim Cummings.
Okay.
Because he is Pete, Captain Justice, Captain Dark, Julius, Winnie the Pooh, Tigger, Ed, and the Cheshire Cat.
Woo-hoo-hoo.
A lot of cats on that list.
Yes.
It just occurs to me. Because I think the only one that's on here that's not a cat is Winnie the Pooh.
Well, Jim Cummings is known for his animal voices.
That's very fair.
Yes.
What do we got in info and stuff?
Info and stuff. Let me pull that up real fast. All right, so info and stuff. IMDb has a 7.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 58% with an audience score of 70%. You can watch it for the low price of $3.59 on YouTube and Amazon Video. What happened to the days when a movie could only cost $1.99?
No kidding.
Yeah, inflation. You gotta love it, people. All right,
Considering this one cost me $3.99 to rent,
where did you rent it from?
I rented it from Apple TV.
Oh, okay.
I didn't bother looking on Amazon for whatever reason, so my luck, it was probably free with Prime for all I know. I didn't look it up, but anyway.
Gotcha. No, this movie is not available anywhere free streaming.
Okay, good.
Yeah, with a prescription and everything. All right, so production was Amblin Entertainment with Amblin Nation.
Amblin Nate. It is a hard word to say.
It is a hard word to say.
The original production company is Amblin, so this is going to be Amblinimation or Amblimation. Amblimation is the closest.
Yeah, Amblin Nation.
They only made 3 movies, so and we've already reviewed one of the first one. So
Which one was that?
Five Goes West.
That's right.
That's why this has a Don Bluth feel. Is that this is pretty much the Don Bluth animators who didn't go off with Don Bluth.
Yes. So distributed by Universal Pictures, release date was December 22nd, 1995 here in the United States. And in the UK, it was released on March 29th, 1996. Had a runtime of 79 minutes. So going into the box office, let's see. I don't have a budget for this film. So going into the weekend, it had, for the opening weekend for the United States and Canada, it made $1.5 million on December 25th, 1995. Its U.S. gross in Canada was $11.3 million. And the international gross was a little higher, like not much, was $11.349 million. So not much, like barely touched it.
Right.
All right.
That might be why this was the last film.
That might be true. I might have to go back and see if I can find the budget for this thing. Anyways, a little more on the box office. The movie ranked 15th on its opening weekend and earned $1.5 million on its of a total of 1,427 theaters. The film also ranked 7th amongst the G-rated films in 1995. It's let's see, already said that. Despite being a disappointment in the box office, it was much more received when it was released to video, or in this case VHS, in 1996. All right, so
I'm fairly certain it probably came to DVD not long after.
No. We'll get there.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. So home release. Balto was released on VHS and Laserdisc on April 2nd, 1996 by MGM Universal Home Video in North America and CIC Video internationally. The VHS version was made available once more on August 11th, 1998 under the Universal Family Features label. The film was released on DVD for the first time on February 19, 2002, which included a game, Where is the Dog Sled Team? This version...
Alaska. That is where the dog sled team is.
Yes.
In Alaska.
Thanks for spoiling it. Where was I? This film was reprinted along with other Universal Pictures films, including An American Tale, Papa Goes West, and The Land Before Time. It was initially released in widescreen on Blu-ray for the first time exclusively at Walmart retailers on April 11th, 2017, before its wide release on June 4th, 2014. So this thing has 2 sequels.
Why?
Because apparently
it made enough money. I know why.
It made enough money. So, to leave to that question...
bear in mind, I'm saying why, not because I didn't like the film, but because I know the actual history.
Yes.
Should not be a sequel.
Well, you got to follow
not in the way I'm fairly certain the sequels went.
No, you got to follow this fictional version of Balto.
We'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there. All right, so let's see. With strong video sales, lead to the release of 2 direct-to-video sequels: Balto 2, Wolf Quest, and Balto 3, Wings of Change, being created, though neither sequel received a strong reception as the original film. And as I said earlier in home video, this movie charted, where was that? 7th among G-rated films in 1995.
Okay.
So if we're talking overall, this movie did not do well in theaters.
No.
At all. Again, if I had more information about the film, which I could probably do a much in-depth Google search, I could probably find the information I need.
I can tell you part of the reason this did not do well was going up against Toy Story.
It was.
And that's 9/10 of its problem.
Yeah, because Toy Story was the #1 movie of 1995.
And I think it came out, like, if not the same weekend, like nearly the same weekend.
So poor little Balto in his half-wolf self didn't have a chance.
So, before we get into the summary,
yes,
do have some responses on the Facebook.
Yes.
Or people's listeners' thoughts. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Listeners' thoughts on the film. Celeste Mora over at Geek Devotions. She said, "This movie is what made me want a husky." I can't blame you for that, to be honest.
No.
Except Balto wasn't a husky in this.
He was half wolf.
Yeah, but then the little girl's dog in the live action segments was a husky.
Yes.
So
but that wasn't Balto.
No, that wasn't Balto. That wasn't even Balto's kid.
No.
Even though I think they wanted you to assume it was.
Yes.
Because it did kind of look like a descendant of Balto and Rose.
Yes.
Not Rosie. Jenna.
Jenna, yeah.
Sorry, I was thinking because Jenna's fur is red. I
get it.
Rose.
I get it. Yeah, Rosie.
Moving on. Moving on. Stephanie Russell. Sorry, Steph. Stephanie Russell over at she was on our Labyrinth episode earlier this year. She said, I was obsessed with Balto, watched it constantly, had one of those life-size plushies of him for decades. Now I just love the animation, specifically Bob Hoskins as a goose. My love of white wolves may also have stemmed from this movie.
Good one.
And in our chat, Wendy and Primo says, I only saw the first one once on DVD.
Hi, Wendy.
So, getting into the summary. In New York City... Apparently I'm tongue-tied tonight. In New York City, an elderly woman and her granddaughter are walking through Central Park looking for a memorial statue. As they seat themselves for a rest, the grandmother recounts a story about Nome, Alaska. In 1925, a wolf dog named Balto lives on the outskirts of Nome with his adopted father, a Russian snow goose named Boris, and 2 polar bears, Muck and Luck. Being a half-breed, Balto is ridiculed by dogs and humans alike. His only friends in town are a little girl named Rosie and her red husky Jenna, whom Balto has a crush on. He is challenged by the town's favorite sled dog, Steel, a fierce and arrogant Alaskan Malamute, and his teammates Nikki, Kaltag, and Star.
Hold on. Be like you said.
This says he's a Malamute.
Malamute?
Malamute? I don't know how to say it.
Malamute.
He's a malleable mutt.
Malamute.
Malamute. Sorry.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Be like, no, Steel is not a Malamute.
I don't know what he is. I'm going off of what I got off Wikipedia.
He looks more like a Siberian Husky.
I know.
Or like a...
He literally
he looks like a Timberwolf.
We'll get there. We'll get there. That night, Rosie and all the children fall ill with diphtheria. That was a fast disease. In this film, severe winter weather conditions prevent medicine from being brought on by air or sea from Anchorage, and the closest rail line ends in Nenana after authorization to transport the antitoxin by rail is given by the governor of Alaska in Juneau. A dog race is held to determine the best fit dogs for a sled dog team to get the medicine. Balto enters and wins, but is disqualified after Steel exposes his wolf dog heritage. The team departs that night with Steel in the lead and picks up the medicine successfully. On the way back, conditions deteriorate, and the disoriented team ends up stranded on the base of a steep slope with the musher knocked unconscious. When the word reaches Nome, Balto sets out in search of them with Boris, Muck, and Luck. On the way, they are attacked by a huge grizzly bear, but Jenna, who followed their tracks, intervenes. The bear pursues Balto out onto a frozen lake, where it falls through the ice and drowns. Muck and Luck save Balto from a similar fate, however Jenna is injured and cannot continue. Balto instructs Boris and the polar bears to take her back home while he continues on alone. Balto eventually finds the team, but still refuses his help and attacks him until he loses his balance and falls off a cliff. Balto takes charge of the team, but they lose their way again since Steel has destroyed the trail. Balto falls while attempting to save the medicine from falling down a cliff. Back in Nome, Jenna's explaining Balto's mission to the other dogs when Steel returns, saying the team, including Balto, is dead. However, Jenna sees through his deception and she assures Balto will return with the medicine. Using a trick Balto showed her earlier, Jenna places broken colored glass bottles on the outskirts of town and shines a lantern on them to simulate the lights of the aurora, hoping it will guide Balto home. When Balto regains consciousness, he is ready to give up hope when a large white wolf appears and notices the medicine crate still intact nearby. He realizes that his part wolf heritage is a strength, not a weakness, and drags the medicine back up the cliff to the waiting team. Using his advanced senses, Balto is able to filter out the false markers Steel created. After encountering further challenges through an ice bridge, an avalanche, and an ice cavern, and losing only one vial, Balto and the sled team finally return to Nome. A pity-playing Steel is abandoned by the other dogs who realize the truth about him. Reunited with Jenna and his friends, Balto earns respect from both the dogs and the humans. He visits a cured Rosie who thanks him for saving her. Back in the present day, the elderly woman and her granddaughter finally find the memorial commemorating Balto, and she explains that the Iditarod Trail covers the same path that Balto and his team took from Nenana to Nome. Don't say anything, we'll get there.
I'm not.
The woman, who is actually Rosie, repeats the same line. Thank you, Balto. I would have been lost without you. She walks off to join her granddaughter and her Siberian husky Blaze. The Balto statue stands proudly in the sunlight. Getting into the trivia for this, Jenna's character design was based on Audrey Hepburn.
No.
The film has many historical inaccuracies.
No, you think?
First off, the film portrays Balto, born in 1919 and died March 14th, 1933, as a brown and gray wolf dog. In reality, Balto was a purebred Siberian husky and was black and white in color. Balto's colors changed to brown due to light exposure while on display in the Cleveland Museum of Natural History.
After he was stuffed.
Balto was never an outcast street dog as shown by the film. He was instead born in a kennel owned by famous musher and breeder Leonhard Sepulpa, who raised and trained him until Balto was deemed fit for being a sled dog. In reality, the sled run to retrieve the medicine was actually a relay. Instead of being the leader of the first and only team, Balto was scheduled to be part of the penultimate team, led by a dog named Fox. This team left by Sepulpa while driven by Gunnar Kasson. Although they were scheduled to hand off the serum to the final team, Kasson decided to advance on. They eventually became the last team to carry the medicine to Nome. The longest and most hazardous distance was traveled by the 18th and third to last team, which was led by Togo, who was born on October 17th, 1913 and died December 5th, 1929. Yes, I found birth dates and death dates for these dogs. However, considerable controversy surrounded Balto's use as a lead dog on Casson's team, including many mushers and others at the time doubting the claims that he truly led the team, based primarily on the dog's track record. It was believed that at most Balto was co-lead with Sepulpa's dog Fox. No record exists of Sepulpa ever having used him as leader in runs or races prior to 1925, and Sepulpa himself stated Balto was never in a winning team and was a scrub dog. In the film, the reason why Dr. Curtis Welch orders the medicine to be sent to Nome is because his supply has completely run out. In reality, the reason that his entire batch was the reason he needed it was that his entire batch was past its expiration date and no longer had any effect. The medicine was transported in 300,000 unit cylinder. In the film, it is transported in a large square crate. In the film, the only residents of Nome who contract diphtheria are 18 children, but in reality, many more were infected, including adults. In reality, none of the mushers were ever knocked unconscious. In the sequels, Balto becomes Jenna's mate, and they have a litter of puppies who grow up and move on with their lives. In reality, however, Balto was neutered as a puppy and consequently could never father a litter. In the sequels, Balto continues living in Nome along with his family and friends, but in reality, Balto and his team spent the rest of their lives in the contiguous United States. After touring the vaudeville circuit for 2 years, Balto and his team were discovered chained to a sled at a small dime museum in Los Angeles.
Poor Balto.
A Bring Balto to Cleveland effort in Cleveland, Ohio in March 1927 raised $2,000 to purchase the dogs, who were all moved to the Brookside Zoo, now the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, to live their lives in dignity. Balto resided there until his death on March 14, 1933, at the age of 14. His body was taxidermied and kept in the Cleveland Museum of Natural History, where it remains today. After the movie's production was announced, the museum extended an invitation for Steven Spielberg, the film's producer, to meet Balto's mount, which he declined. And that's what all I've got for trivia.
That explains the coat color.
So, Jacob, what is your first like for this film?
It's a fun story. Like, yeah, even though like there's enormous historical inaccuracies, we'll get there when we get there. But overall, it's a fun story. You have this of an outcast character who's looked down upon because of his heritage, and he has to overcome what's the word I'm looking for? He's
Adversity.
Adversity. Thank you. That's what I'm looking for. Trying to overcome adversity and discrimination in a way from other dogs and people because, I'm half wolf, which in reality he was only a full-bred husky.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit. So I understand where the story, the creators and the writers want to make more of a dynamic storytelling. So make Balto half wolf. It makes sense. It brings more drama into the story. And it's a cartoon. You have to make dogs talk. Animals have to talk.
I mean, they don't have to, but they do.
They don't have to, but it brings more energy.
It works for this story.
It works for the story. And overall, it is a fun story. I enjoyed it tremendously. Even though I knew somewhat of the story in the back of my head watching this. I think as a child, like I said in the beginning, as a child, I probably would have enjoyed this if I had the chance to watch it. And so watching the film, keeping that in mind that this was made for children, this is not an historical event. This is not an historical accurate movie. I think there's one on Disney Plus that tells the other story of this.
There's the movie Togo.
Yeah, Togo. That's on Disney Plus.
Based on the actual dog who had it hard.
Yes. Like he had a much further distance to go than Balto did. But overall, be like, yeah, it is a fun, it's a good, solid story, which I thoroughly enjoy. So that's my first like.
My first like for this film is that this is just a fun movie. While it is inspired by a true story,
yeah,
and I'm using that word, that phrase specifically.
Loosely.
I'm using it specifically as inspired, not based.
Yes,
but I'll explain my reasoning here in a minute later on. For what this is, I mean, I kind of look at this like I look at the movie Pocahontas,
yes,
or for that matter, Anastasia, where this is not exactly what happened.
No.
This is a fun story to tell kids. This is like, it works for what it's doing. Yeah, sure, we know that looking back on it, there were other historical inaccuracies, and I'm going to talk about some of them again here in a minute. But I mean, this is just a fun movie. I don't mind the way the changes they made here, while they aren't what happened in the story. I do feel they're respectful for what happened. Unlike a couple other movies that we've reviewed that were based on a historical event. And we're reviewing one of their sequels next month. But, yeah, I think this works for this film. This does still kind of have a Disney light feel to it. But at the same time, there's enough... there's enough to it that I don't really feel like it's trying to be Disney.
Yeah.
It's more like you can tell that it's descended from Disney, for lack of a better term.
Right.
which, through through Don Bluth to Fievel, to Fievel Goes West, that all makes us a kind of sense. But I think this works good for what it is. It's not many films out there that actually have snow packed as a setting that actually works. I am including Frozen in the list of things that work, by the way. I should be clear about that.
Yes.
As much as I'm not a fan of Frozen, it does work for what it's doing. But
let it go. You know you love it.
I never said this. Tangled is a better film.
Agreed.
But yeah, this is it works good for what it is. It's the best way I know how to put it. So yeah, it's a good fun film. What's your second like?
The Goose.
I'm not surprised you liked Boris.
Why is that?
Because it's Bob Hoskins.
Yeah, of course.
And he isn't drunk.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins as the Goose. I can't remember his name, the character's name.
Boris Goosington.
Boring Goosington.
Boris.
Boris.
The fact that his last name is Goosington.
Goosington is hysterical. The fact be like he's the psychic character. He's the father figure to our Balto, and he's the constant encouragement.
I just realized something.
What?
This is the second film, or the second franchise, I should say, in which a goose is a father to a
you're not kidding.
hero.
Yeah,
The adopted father to a hero. The other one being Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. Wow. Okay, there's a connection.
You just need Boris saying, "We are noodle folk."
Oh my gosh.
Sorry.
Wow.
Sorry.
Okay. No veins, people. No veins. But Bob Hoskins, again, the man is an incredible actor. Obviously, all of us know Bob Hoskins from his amazing performance in Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yes.
So when I'm watching the titles come through, it's like, who's in this film? Kevin Bacon, of all people, to play the main character. That was a weird one.
I don't know. It works.
It works, but it was more like you never see Kevin Bacon as that kind of character, which is okay, fine. You see Bob Hoskins, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be fun. No matter what character he's gonna bring, be like, it's gonna be good. Mm-hmm. For all the films I've seen Bob Hoskins in, like, he does a spectacular job being a goose, being this surrogate father to Balto, the half dog, half wolf.
Could be worse.
It could be. He could be half cat.
Cat dog, alone in the world with a little cat dog. I know the whole theme song.
I'm not surprised.
I barely watch the show, but it's got a great theme song.
Apparently, it's catchy. I never watched it. Either or.
Back in town.
Yes. Anyways, before we get copyright striked.
If we get copyright struck from me singing a song, that means they actually watch the show. Because the automatic stuff's not going to catch this.
But, yeah, Bob Hoskins does an amazing job in this as the goose. And, like, he's always entertained. Any point he's on in the movie, his character pops up. It's like, okay, this is going to be good. So, yeah, Bob Hoskins as the goose.
So, I watch a lot of anime.
Yes.
I mean, you've watched a bunch of it too, admittedly.
Yes.
And there's kind of a joking game you can play when you're watching the first episode, and that is spot the main character. Because they're the one with the goofiest hairstyle, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I had a shade of that at the beginning of this film. Because I'm watching this and I see the character who's obviously the bad guy. I know nothing about the character. It's been years since I've seen this. I don't remember who anyone is, other than I know there's an evil dog, right? That's the only thing I remember, is that Balto is the hero, and he saves the day from evil dog. And I don't even remember why the dog is evil, okay? Before I started watching this. And so I'm sitting there, and we're watching that first race, they're coming in from that. And of all the dogs that we see, there's only one that immediately I went, he's the villain. Like, did no acting. He was just there on screen. I go, he's the villain. And that was Steel.
Yeah.
Steel he's not a great villain in general.
No.
But he's a type of villain I kind of like because the reason he does what he does is more pride and trying to be the, pardon the pun, top dog.
Rough.
But you can tell just by looking at him that this is not the type of character who was ever a good guy. You know, this guy was always the bully. Everyone listens to what he says, either A, because he beat him down, or B, they're the kind of toadies that look up to stuff like that. And he probably beat them down too, if we're being honest.
Probably.
So I like having this, while they do explain, I'm not going to say evil for evil's sake villain, because he's not evil for evil's sake. He does have a flaw, which is why he is the way he is, which is his pride. Mm-hmm. But I like having this kind of unredeemable villain, because we don't always get this, especially nowadays.
Yes.
Where they try to make you feel for the villain. And you know what? I don't give a flying banana what happens to Steel at the end of this. And I'm happy about that I don't have to feel like, oh, I'm sorry that he's going to go get sent to the pound or wherever he's going to go.
Yeah.
I was like, no, have him fall off the cliff. Give him the Gaston treatment, or the evil witch from Snow White treatment that falls off screen and dies. Give me that. We don't get that because this isn't actually Disney. Because apparently, weirdly enough, Disney's the only one who ever actually killed their villains on screen.
Clayton.
We'll get to Clayton, because that is disturbing how much of that they show in the 90s.
No, I'm preferring like a Clayton type death from Tarzan.
Yeah, Clayton type death.
Yes.
I wish we'd have gotten that. Not enough for it to make my dislikes.
Yeah.
But it's like, I love how this is a villain that if he had died on screen, I would not have cared.
Yeah.
I would not have felt bad for him. I would not have gone, aww. No, it's like, kill the dog. Kill the... Not really kill the dog. This makes me sound horrible. But I would not have been upset if he was given his more comeuppance, other than everyone in town just decides, oh, we don't want anything to do with you anymore, Steel, and just walks off, leaving him to pout.
Yeah, agreed.
But I like having a villain that actually is despicable.
Yeah, agreed.
And despicable in such a way that you don't want him to be redeemed in a way. I know that sounds awful in a way, but it's nice having that. He's not evil for evil's sake. He's just evil, and there is no redemption for him at this point. So, yeah, and Jim Cummings does an excellent job. Yeah. I mean, yeah, after you are listening to him for a while, it's like, oh yeah, because his Pete voice sneaks in there every once in a while, unintentionally, I think. But he does such a good job of being this this kind of mustache twirling. Yes, I'm Steel. I am the coolest thing since sliced cheese, and I am obviously not lost. I know how to get back to town. It's like, why isn't the musher the one steering you back to town? But that's beside the point. But yeah, the villain of Steel is actually I heartily enjoyed as a villain. What's your third like?
My third like would be this movie has no lack of adventure. It'd be like there is so many moments. This movie is jam packed full of moments where it's like, oh my gosh, our character is in peril for the vast majority of this film. There's not a levity of a moment. There's not even a moment. There's moments here or there where you can catch your breath in the very beginning, but we get to like our back into the second half, into the third act, be like, all it is nothing but action. Mm-hmm. That's all this movie turns into, is an action-packed movie to get back to Nome. Yeah, get back to Nome in order to save the children. That's Balto's whole his whole stick. Be like, I've got to save these kids. I've got to save these kids. And even though be like he's being shunned by society, he still wants to save these kids because he has a good heart as a wolf dog.
He's a good boy.
He's a good boy. Not as good as a certain other dog. We'll get to
him. We'll get to Mr. Doggy.
We'll get to Mr. Doggy later. But yeah, this movie is not lacking any kind of action per se. If you're looking for a good little action romp of be like there's perils at every turn and this and this. Oh my gosh, how's Balto going to get out of this? He has to summon up his wolf spirit in order to overcome the challenge. And all this like very cheesy 90s stuff, but it's good 90s cheesy stuff, which I enjoy because I'm a 90s kid.
Right.
And yeah, like it's again, it's a fun film. Yeah, that's my third like.
My third like for this. This is a 90s era Disney style animated film. Would you agree?
Yes, I agree.
What is the primary thing that 90s era style Disney animated films have in common? Most of them have in common. What are genrically, if that's a word, what are they also generally?
I want to say princess, but that's not it. No, that's not it.
Because Lion King falls into this, Aladdin falls into this.
Is it more of a...
say Tarzan falls into this, but it does it a little differently than most.
I'm not sure. What?
Musicals.
Oh, that's right.
I am actually happy that this is not a musical.
Thankful.
Because here's the thing. I don't think a musical would work for this. Because, yeah, it would have added on maybe, 10, 15 minutes of screen time probably. But it would have never... I can't imagine a musical interlude fitting into this film in a way that made sense.
Yes.
So I'm really happy they did not fall into the pattern that everyone thought they had to have back then of having, a ton of songs in the film and making it a musical, that you could actually have, 70 minutes? 70 to 80
79. I'm going to misquote myself. 79.
79. It's just shy of an hour and a half. And it does not at any point go into this comedic song. You don't have your want song. You don't have your villain song. I can't imagine what kind of song Steele would have in this. But it doesn't need it. And I'm glad they didn't try to shoehorn it in there. So yeah, I actually appreciate that this is not a musical. And yeah, I do think that was the right choice.
Agreed.
Now we need to get into dislikes, Sam. With your permission, I want to lead this off.
Go for it.
Have you ever seen a film called The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance?
Yes.
There is a quote in that film, near the end of the film. It's kind of the thesis statement for that film that says, when the legend is fact, print the legend.
Got it.
This is kind of that thing, because I complained earlier, not really complained, I pointed out earlier that there's a lot of historical inaccuracies in this film.
Yeah.
And I honestly do believe the film is better off for not sticking to be an accurate retelling of the events of the story.
Yes.
And I was fine with the whole thing, even after reading all the stuff, until I realized what the first credit in the end credits is. Because here's the thing. I liked this film. It's fun. It's enjoyable. My rating is probably going to be higher than you're going to think it is after I get done with this.
Really?
Yes. So now I must tell you what this first credit is that made me mad. Or not made me mad, but made me get a little,
Ragsmaster activated.
This audio clip owned by Nate Marchand of the Monster Island Film Vault. For more information, please go to monsterislandfilmvault.com. Based on a true story.
Here we go.
First off, yes, it is. It is based on a true story.
Yes,
Let's be
it is.
honest. That is that is a very accurate statement. Here's my problem with it. People, me, you, most people in general, when they see the terms based on a true story, even if they know for a fact that this is going to be somewhat, there's going to be some artistic license, it's not going to be exactly what happens, we pretty much assume this is basically what happened. Right?
Yes.
That the events in the movie, even if there's artistic legend, are going to hit the same points.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, this is not that.
No.
This is, at best, inspired by a true story. Here's the thing. I mentioned 2 other films that were similar to this. Pocahontas, which also has a lot of historical inaccuracies.
A little.
And Disney didn't have the guts to say based on a true story. Anastasia doesn't even mention what it's based on. It actually tells the whole thing in a very fairy tale like fashion.
Yes.
But it never says based on a true story.
Yes.
Here's the thing. The last credit in this film, the most, at the end of most credits for films, it says, any resemblance to any person's living or dead is purely coincidental. It has said this on every film pretty much since the 1920s.
Mm-hmm.
This film, and there are some other ones that do this that are claiming to be based on a true story, says, with the exception of the actual people mentioned in the story, no resemblance to any person's living or dead. It's all purely coincidental, whatever the thing is. I'm going, there's only one person that is actually named in this film that would have been in the original story, and that's Balto himself. Because you never mentioned the musher's name. Jenna and her parents, or Rosie and her parents, they're not real people.
Yeah,
I'm sure there were based on there were people like that there, but they are not named people in the story. They are invented for this story. Obviously, the Goose, Muck, and Luck are invented for this story. None of the other humans are named. Far as I can tell, Steel is an invented character for this story. Mm-hmm. You can't even claim he's Togo, which would have made some sense story-wise if you'd done that. But they didn't do that. There's only one person, living or dead, that appeared in this film, and that was Balto. And you want to know what? That wasn't even Balto. That was some random wolf dog named Balto. It wasn't the Balto who historically ran the Serum Run of 1925, which, fun fact, the Iditarod is not the reason, does not follow his path exactly. I looked the map up of the actual route, and a part of it is, but unfortunately, Nanaimo, or whatever the name of the town is in Alaska, where they had to pick the serum up, it's not on the Iditarod Trail.
Really?
It's not. It's the trail is like 200 miles west of where this other town is. This just happens to be the closest rail line to Nome. And it's still 800 miles away from Nome. So this is another trail that might be part of the same trail system, but it's not where the Iditarod is run, except for the part that leads to Nome itself, after where it crosses the trail that they actually took.
Yeah. And
here's the other thing. Matt, what was the distance I just said of the from Nome to where they had to pick up the serum? 700 miles?
Yeah.
Guess what? No pack of sled dogs is going to make it there in one night, because the dogs are not the Flash.
Bow wow wow, Flash.
They are not Crypto the Super Dogs. As much as Steel probably thinks he is.
Yes.
He is not Crypto the Super Dog. And none of them are Ace the Bat Hound either. And as far as I know, there wasn't Flash didn't have a pet. But I could be wrong there. For all I know, he's got a pet horse. I know there was a super horse from the Golden Age, because the Golden Age had a lot of weird stuff. But I'm sorry, there is no way that they make enough changes for artistic license, to tell the story well, to actually make it a good enough story that you're not going to bore the kids and make it dramatic and stuff. And that is fine. And I will admit, what I'm saying here about being, you know, a little touchy that they use the term based on a true story instead of inspired by a true story is being a little pedantic. But I'm sorry. You tell me it's based on a true story, my first thought before I do any research is, this is actually the events that happened. This is not the events that happened.
No.
It is vague. It is events similar to this occurred, but it's not the story. It is an invented story based on on a legend based on probably what was written on the plaque at the Cincinnati Museum of Natural History in front of Balto's taxidermied skin.
Yes.
That's what this is based on. It is not actually based on the story because, good night, there's too much here that is historically inaccurate for it to actually be based on that story, in my opinion. You give me an inspired by a true story credit, I'll live with it. I'll let it go. Because I'll read, okay, this is not the story. This is a story somewhat based on it. And I will even say, I mentioned earlier that some of the two of the other based on true story, quote unquote, films that we reviewed being the two animated Titanic films. And neither one of those, I think we both agree, neither one of those are, well, good, but they're not respectful to the story. I still think this is respectful to the original story.
Yes.
To the actual events. I say at nearly the 100th anniversary of said events. There's a thought for you. But, if you'd have put inspired, I would let this go if you just put inspired by a true story instead of based on a true story. But that's like I said, it's me being pedantic, but it's also my first dislike. What's yours?
So before going to that, you mentioned the Flash. Does the Flash?
Yeah, does the Flash have a pet?
Yes, he does. He does actually. There's in the turtle.
I forgot in the movie.
Yeah,
they gave the turtle.
Yeah,
speed powers.
Terrific. What's it? Appeared in the DC Legends Super Pets. This version of a non-anthropomorphic female turtle who acquires super speed after being exposed to orange kryptonite and goes on to become the Flash's pet and the founding member of the League of Super Pets.
Of course, it's a turtle.
Of course, it's a turtle.
That's what I would have done if I was writing. It's like, what would be the funniest pet for the world's fastest man to have? A turtle! Because the only thing funnier would be a snail. Snail man. Snail power.
Snail power. Yes.
I know what you were actually doing. Anyway, what's your first?
My first dislike. I'd be like, my first initial thoughts. Let's hit this thing over the head with this historical accuracies. Let's not do that right now. Mine is going to be the animation errors, and there are a butt ton of them.
See, these didn't stick out as bad.
Oh,
go ahead.
So there's moments. There's again, it'd be like it's nitpick. Be like you can look at some errors. Okay, that's fine. But there's so many little like errors. It becomes a problem in this film where there's one moment in particular that's stuck out in my mind. I'm watching it for the first time. I'm like, what in the world? It's a moment where Balto be like he's talking, and if you know anything about animation, you have the lead animator and you have the in-betweeners.
Yeah.
So
lead animator does the keyframes, the in-betweeners do the stuff in between the keyframes.
Exactly. Like, for example, you have
Bill Keane?
Yeah, Glenn Keane.
Glenn Keane, yeah.
Yeah, Glenn Keane, he was the key animator for Ariel and the Little Mermaid. And so then you had all these in-betweeners who did all the make the animation come alive. So with this film, I don't know who was asleep at the wheel sometimes, because you have all this great key animation work, but the in-between sometimes is so shoddy. Because literally you would see Balto, half his face would move within the frame itself. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Because I understand, be like you're under a time crunch, and maybe things were skipped or they were passed over, that kind of thing.
And nobody had Disney's budget, so
no, of course not. Be like you have Amblin money, but still, that's limited.
Yeah.
and like Universal money to do this thing. And still you have all these little errors that kind of pile up and make, a good movie not, I mean, like, again, it doesn't take away from the movie like entirely, but it does distract the audience. It distracted me so much where it'd be like you have a key point where like Balto's running and then like his paw's in a different spot. Like you miss a frame. So there's little things here and there. It's a nitpick, but once you start looking at it, digging further into it, it becomes a little more of a problem. So yeah, key animation issues here and there, but I'm not saying the movie is bad animation wise. I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
but it's just looking at it from a critical view. To
give it some contrast.
Yes,
there is another movie that we reviewed, and it's been a while since we reviewed it, that had some dogs with some animation issues, and that was Oliver and Company.
Yes,
when during the big scene at the end, and the dog and the all the people are on that guy's, all the pets are on that guy's scooter, and they're being chased by the big Doberman pinchers, and they speed away fast enough that the Doberman pinchers kind of fall backwards and then disappear long before they get to the horizon.
Oh, yeah.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not. It's not. Be like these are little in between animation errors.
They're like on screen for like a couple of frames, and that's it.
Yeah, but be like if you're paying attention to everything, like we do as reviewers, be like you're going to see it, and it's just like it was a little glaring here and there. But so yeah, animation errors. So what is your second dislike?
I don't think the live action bookends are necessary for this film. They don't really add much to the story other than this is obviously a grandma telling her granddaughter the story basically of a time the grandma nearly died.
Yes.
Which, don't get me wrong, it does a good job of framing the story. I think you could have told the story without that and it would have had the same impact. Knowing that the grandma is Rosie at throughout the rest of the film, I don't think really is necessary. I don't think her telling her granddaughter about it is really necessary. And then it's taking place in New York, which I'm sitting there going, why is there a statue for a dog who saved a town in Alaska in New York City? There's a question for you. I mean, It's a little weird that Balto's taxidermied hide is in Cincinnati, but I mean, based on what I read, I understand how it got there. But why is there a statue in New York City for something that occurred in Alaska? And it's not just, like in a museum statue where it's like historically, this is in the middle of Central Park.
Yeah.
Now, granted, it might actually be a statue of Balto or a sled dog commemorating those events in Central Park that I am completely unaware of, because that did not look like a cheap statue.
No.
That looked like an actual statue. So I could be talking out my butt, but that entire part there of them looking for the statue in New York City and then finding it at the end and kind of giving that, here's what happened, kind of that, how at the end of most based on true story things, there's that series of pictures at the end that tells you, here's what happened after the events of the movie finished. That's kind of what this is. And I don't think it's necessary for this story, since it's, like I said, it's not actually based, it's more inspired by the story. It gives an air of legitimacy that I don't think the movie deserves to have, because it's not based on true events. Or not entirely based on true events, I should say. So, yeah, I think they should have left the live action segments off, in my opinion. Okay. What's your third dislike?
My third dislike, or second dislike, sorry.
It is your second.
Yes, it is my second. It is my second dislike.
I got out of habit because I'm used to being second.
You're good.
But I had to be first.
Yes, you had to be first. Because you had to go into your right, master.
And?
Yes. So, kind of bouncing off Drew's first dislike is the historical inaccuracies. Hi. like you could sit here for another hour and a half just picking apart everything wrong with this film historically, and not to like.
I didn't even name everything in the trivia.
No,
These are just the most glaring.
Yeah, just and again, be like again, we could sit here for another hour just going in and taking a historical dive of what the actual event was, and an historical perspective mockery of this amazing feat.
Yeah.
History happened, and this is more of this is a grand adventure with fun and action,
Which is fine.
Be like, I'm not be like, this is a good movie.
Yeah.
Now to be like,
this is one of those weird points I think for both of us, that the movie is good.
Yeah.
But it's not accurate. So
No, it's not accurate.
We have to touch on the historical inaccuracies because we both believe in being historically accurate.
Yes.
When stuff happens, but at the same time, this is still a good story. There's no reason I can suspend enough of my disbelief with the movie.
Exactly. That's where I was going.
Yeah. Sorry.
That's exactly where I was going. Be like because like if it was a bad movie like Titanic, the legend goes on. Like, oh my gosh, rip that thing to shreds because it's a terrible film. You take Balto, which is a good film. It's done very well. It's told very well. It's animated well. It's voice acted very well. It's got, cast, crew, the whole enchilada. It's got a good foundation. It's just not historically accurate. And so you can disassociate that as an historian or an amateur historian in my case. And it's like, okay, I can. It's like, okay, this is going over my head. I'm putting my entertainment glasses on. I'm going to watch the thing for what it is and enjoy the story for what it is, even though I know it's not historically accurate. So, yes, there's historical inaccuracies blatant throughout this entire film. But how good the story is, you can look past it. So, it has historical inaccuracies, and we can beat this dog until the fur falls off. But at this point, it's not really worth it because it's a good film.
Yeah.
So, what is your third dislike?
My third dislike for this film, I'm not really sure on it, to be honest. This is kind of a little nitpicky thing. Jenna, the dog, she goes and recreates the Northern Lights thing that Balto showed her.
Oh gosh, that's
on the snowdrift, right?
Yeah.
A whole day passes.
Yes.
And then and one presumes, at least, that she did it again, because
one would presume.
It's there when Balto does finally come back into town, and this thing does feel like it took place in the course of a week. Okay,
it does, or a couple of days at least.
So here's the question: how did Jenna get all those broken glass bottles and the lantern?
Yes,
up there to even set all that up?
Yes,
because she is just a normal dog.
Yes.
She's not anthropomorphic in any way.
Yeah.
She gets it up there somehow and gets all that set up.
Yeah.
And absolutely not one single human in Nome, Alaska apparently goes outside, sees the multicolored lights on the snowbank, goes to check out what happened and cleans it up. Not one human?
Apparently, everyone's so concerned about the children. They're like, oh, no, we can't go outside. No, we got to take care of the children first.
Okay, fair. But here's the other thing. I think you would agree. You like me, have been in those situations where you're at somebody's, caring for somebody who's sick. Somebody else is taking over for you, and you go outside to get a breath of fresh air, which even in the middle of Nome, Alaska in the wintertime, you'd have to do. And we see them do that in this. It's not like people are I mean, they're dressed as Eskimos, of course, but it's not like they're just staying inside all the time. Sometimes they go outside and get a breath of fresh air, even though it's going to be cold freezing, because they're not going to be out there long. Heck, this is the 1920s. They probably were out there smoking.
Probably.
And here's the thing. Not one of them looked at the hill.
Apparently.
And thought, what on earth is going up there? I went to investigate and found the little red husky has gotten a lantern. The A has got to be, it's what, an oil lantern probably?
It's an oil lantern.
There's no way that oil lantern lasted more than an hour.
Yeah.
And there's all this broken glass. That's a safety hazard right there.
Yeah.
And you're telling me nobody went up there, and then she somehow was able to sneak away a second lantern on the second night that someone had already lit to go back up there, and still nobody saw this? And it happened to not snow in that period of time? Or she somehow cleaned up all the glass herself, brought it back home that morning, and then brought it back out there that night. I know, this is a stupid thing to get strung up on.
A logical tongue tie with that one.
I'm just saying, that was like the one thing. It's like, I understand what you're doing. Unfortunately, he's not going, at best, Balto would not even see this until he's within 10 miles. At best.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not going to be obvious what he's looking. He's going to see the lights of the town before he sees your Aurora Borealis in the snow.
Yes.
And imagine what happened if the Aurora Borealis was actually going on at that time. Because it could have been.
Could have. Possible. It's Alaska.
It is Alaska. But yeah. Nitpicky thing. I understand what it's there for. It's that doing what you can in hopes that you're helping the person who's going to be your savior. And I'm just sitting there going, I bet some well-meaning person's going to go clean that up before Balto even ever sees it.
Uh-huh.
And apparently this never happened.
No.
So yeah, that's my third dislike. It's stupid, I admit, but this is a good enough film. I actually have a hard time coming up with stuff.
Fair. So my third dislike, now granted, at first when I started doing the notes, I miscredited who actually sung this song. Because I thought it was Phil Collins, because it sounded like Phil Collins.
Which makes sense since he's in the
film. He's in the cast.
I don't think he sings any of the songs.
No, he doesn't, which was shocking. I was like, wait a minute.
It's like, you had Phil Collins, and you didn't have him sing a song?
Nothing. It was like, what the fuck?
Even the Super Mario Brothers movie had Jack Black and knew he had to sing at least once. Even though it wasn't a musical.
Yes. Oh, my gosh. So the in-credits song... sang by Stephen Winwood. I've never heard of this man. Never heard of him. Apparently, he was a part of a group back in the 60s, and he's continually had a career since then as a solo artist. Or correction, he was a solo artist in the 80s and has continued to be a solo artist since then. So, well, like, he's had this longevity of a career. I've never heard of him. Bill, I'm pretty sure there's probably a Stephen Winwood fan out there like, oh my gosh, you never heard of it. I actually pulled him up on Apple Music, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to listen to a little bit of his stuff because I've never heard it. This song, Jim-a-knees on a freaking pogo stick. Let me find the title of this dirt ball of a song. Come on. Hold on.
You would... Hang on.
Dude. Ow. Snarf.
Sorry, I had to find my edit point.
All right, so the song in question is called "Reach for the Light," sang by Steve Winwood. To give it a little trivia, which plays over the movie's end credits. Apparently, it was initially reported the end credit would feature a song co-written by Neil Diamond and Carol Burroughs Sager, but the song was never materialized. So, with that out of the way, again, you have freaking Phil Collins, Journey, the whole enchilada, like this amazing musician, rock icon, and you don't get him to do your ending song. Okay, I get it. Maybe he wasn't available. And then you get this guy, I've known he probably had a really good career. But this song, oh my gosh, just like if you want to go back and just listen to this song, it is absolutely abysmal written wise. I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, Winwood was absolutely terrible. He wasn't. Like, the song was just, ugh. It was just written so terrible. I don't know who wrote this thing, but it was just, nah. Oh, let's see. Who wrote this? Barry Mann and Cynthia Welf. I don't know who these people are. I didn't like the song. It'd be like, it was one of those songs would be like, most end credit songs would be like, either are going to be memorable enough to where it's like, okay, that was a good song. It's got a great ending. The movie's got this great hook, and you get this really, really cool song at the end. You're going to go find it in iTunes or wherever you're going to buy the soundtrack for this thing. This, no, I'm sorry. I listened to this and was like, oh, okay, click, turn off, mute, something, because just like, it was not good. Granted, that could be me. Someone could say, oh my gosh, I love this song. And props to you.
You don't like the song. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't like the song.
I don't like the song. I really don't. It had no appeal. I thought it was Phil Collins at first. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, whoever wrote this song and thought, Phil Collins sounds great for this song. It wasn't Phil Collins. It was Steve Winwood, and it's just like, bleh.
It could be the reason Phil Collins didn't do the music is that he was already, by this time, probably working on Tarzan.
Probably.
Tarzan is 97.
Yeah, it's 97.
This movie came out in 95.
Yeah.
I can see him maybe coming on to do the acting, which is still admittedly weird that he's doing any acting.
Yeah.
He doesn't. This is like one of his few acting credits.
Yeah.
Is this film? But he may have been like maybe not under contract, but was musically already starting to work on Tarzan.
Yes.
May have already been he may have already been under contract to not do any other animated films. Not to sing on any other animated films, for all I know.
Possibly.
I can't find anything that says that, but I can see that being the case.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm actually curious, like, whatever other...
There wasn't much. Nearly his entire filmography is his music videos.
Oh, okay.
So, what are you rating this film?
Hold on. Go back. What am I scoring this? What are you scoring it?
I'm giving it an 8.
Okay.
Like I said, because this is a fun movie. Going into it with no knowledge, because I didn't look up any of the information before. I waited to see what the movie was going to tell me, and then when I was doing my research is when I found out about all the historical inaccuracies. But it's a fun movie for what it is. I knew it was based somewhat on a true story. But yeah, for a movie inspired by a true story with the artistic license that they use, I actually do think it works very well. I give it an 8 because I think it's still a good, fun movie. It's still worth your time to go watch. Most of the reason it's not getting anything higher than an 8 is because there's a couple of it's still a little ho-hum in terms of I wouldn't call this a masterpiece by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still a good, fun movie. And I do think it's worth watching for that reason alone. So yeah, I'm giving it an 8.
I will also give it an 8. I mean, like, it's a well done, well crafted movie. Yeah, the historical accuracies beat you over the head. It's like Balto's actually a dog. He's actually a Siberian Husky, not a half wolf. He's not Inuyasha.
That was one of the annoying things going through this when I was doing the research. It's like every turn I made, it's like, oh, but this is nope, this is not real. Oh, but this is based on the Iditarod. Nope, the Iditarod has nothing to do with the 1925 Serum Run. It's based on an act. It's just literally the running of the trail from Anchorage. That's like, do you know where Anchorage is in relation to Nanama or whatever the name of the town is where they stopped? It's due south of Nanama. The serum, in the movie it says the serum went from Juneau by rail to Nanama, or whatever the name of the town is.
Yeah.
It didn't. It went through Anchorage.
It went through Anchorage.
It went through Anchorage because the Iditarod Trail is from Anchorage to Nome.
Really?
But because they had the train instead of doing the sled dogs, because it would actually been longer for the sled dogs to go all the way to Anchorage.
Yeah.
They did this. They took the train up there that way to get as far that way as they could before there was no other trail to go, and that's why the dogs ran the rest of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because ironically, the Iditarod Trail does go from Anchorage to Alaska or to Nome, but it is the long part of the triangle. We'll say.
Okay.
Anyway.
But overall, I enjoyed this film. It's done very well. The historical inaccuracies, you could do an entire different podcast over the historical inaccuracies of this film. But overall, I enjoyed it, so it's getting an 8. I think as a child, I would enjoy it, and as an adult, I enjoy it as well.
I agree. Next week, our good buddy Nate is coming back.
Who seems to be invading our show?
This is his, fourth
time
in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah, about.
Yeah.
Because he came in June for Godzilla -1.
Yes.
He was in the hiatus. I'm sorry, this is his 3rd appearance in a row. Next month is his 4th. Because he's coming back for Bad Movie Month.
Poor guy.
But not only are we getting Nate, but one of his co-hosts from Nate's new podcast, Henshin Power V3, is going to be joining us for a very apropos animated film, Ultraman Rising.
On Netflix.
And before you go thinking this is an anime, it isn't. It's a Western animation. Mm-hmm. It is a very good film. I watched it during the hiatus and thought, we have to review this film, and we're going to have to review it before Bad Movie Month. And I kind of sort of mentioned that on Facebook, and Nate said, well, do I need to bring my crew on? And I thought, maybe. So, yeah. Join us next week for a little bit of giant kaiju action.
Yes.
And giant superhero action. And maybe some baby kaiju action. Admittedly, the baby kaiju is very, very cute. And a little bit of baseball. And when we review Ultraman Rising. In the meantime, join us on the other side of the bumpers, and we will get to talking about what we've been watching, some news, and a little bit of Spy Family.
This podcast is a proud member of Culture Box. Whether you enjoy geeky reviews, comedy, or original fiction, you can open up the Culture Box and find something excellent for your soul. Point your web browser to culturebox.media.
This week, we suggest checking out the Retro Rerun podcast. They think they deserve a trophy, but they do not. But they review movies from 15 movies and games from 15 or more years ago, letting you know whether or not it's worth your time to partake in such things again. And Francisco gets it wrong many, many times. But go check out them and a rotating cast of guest hosts, all of which are out of time. The Cellcast would also like to thank the following patrons: Ashley and Francisco Ruiz, PaulJPowers.com, The Monster Island Film Vault, and Edwin Gonzalez. And we thank you all for supporting us at this time. If you would like to have your name shouted out on the show, some special art from Jacob, and uncut episodes, you can donate to us over there. Or if you want to pay us $5 more, you can actually force us to review a movie of your choosing within reason. We do reserve the right to say no and then give you a chance to pick something else. But yeah, and
Clothing.
We do have some shirts that are going to be on the store before this episode gets released to the RSS feeds. So go check out our link in the description or in the show notes to go get you some t-shirts, because we got more than just the logo now. So Jacob, I have a question for you.
What have you been watching?
What I've been watching? Well, so I get home from work one day. I think it was like some point last week. I had the car. Ashley was home. Mm-hmm. And I think this was, I don't remember. No. Be like, I got home and she's sitting on the couch watching Are You Afraid of the Dark? The TV show from 1993, 92.
Boop, 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 boop.
Yeah, on Nickelodeon, I believe.
Yeah, it was on Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
During their SNCC programming block originally. Saturday night Nickelodeon.
So growing up, I was not a Nick kid because I grew up didn't get internet until like probably like
didn't have cable.
No, we didn't have cable. We had satellite.
And yet still didn't get Nickelodeon.
No, we didn't get Nickelodeon until like probably like we didn't get satellite until probably like the late mid 90s.
By the time you got it, you would have been out of watching that
exactly.
General.
And plus Nickelodeon was never appealed to me as a kid. I don't know why, but it just never did. So watching this for the first time is like, oh, this is interesting. Now as a kid, be like, this would have been there's some episodes like, wow, okay, this is kind of scary. Mm-hmm. As an adult, okay, this is cheesy, funny to watch. And that's just like
it does have a Disney Channel original movie feel to it.
It does, but it's a weekly show. Well, am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weekly show that ran for 7 seasons.
Yeah. I wasn't allowed to watch it.
Really?
Mostly it was I say that. I actually don't remember if I was expressly told not to watch it. I think that may have been something I put on myself because the way the advertisements were for that show, it was very much this is a show for older kids. This is our block for older kids,
right?
Teenagers. It's like, oh, that's not me because I don't like this Saved by the Bell nonsense.
Oh my gosh,
it wasn't Saved by the Bell. That's just the closest approximation that I would have been familiar with.
Exactly.
I just remember seeing commercials for it with the big red couch and Keenan and Kel and Amanda Bynes and all those other people. Mm-hmm. And then Are You Afraid of the Dark was that weird horror television show that I probably wouldn't have watched back then, even if I thought I was allowed to.
Yeah.
Because I just wasn't into scary stuff.
Yeah. Ashley, my wife, absolutely loved this show as a kid. So
I didn't even read Goosebumps.
Really?
Really? I didn't read Goosebumps as a kid.
Huh.
I've never read a Goosebumps book. I've seen the movie with Jack Black in it. Where he plays the author. But that's
R.L. Stine?
R.L. Stine, yeah.
Really?
The first one. I didn't see the second one.
Okay. Yeah, so we watched a few episodes of that. And it's good. There again, it's a kids TV show from the 90s. And
with all that entails.
All that entails. Oh my gosh. There's one in the first season where this girl, she's forbidden to ride horses. She goes in an attic, unlocks unlocks a trunk. And she is quote unquote possessed by her aunt's spirit in some fashion or form, and she has to go around and do all these tasks, which is really weird.
For some reason, I thought you were about to say she was possessed by the spirit of a horse.
No, but I get it. It's a campfire setting of this kid organization who come out once a week with one story for the entire thing. I'm like, really? Like I can see where it's like you're telling story, like you go to this one designated area once a week and you're telling really, really good like ghost stories to each other, but it's one person per week. Like how long? It'd be like, these are like 30, 25-minute episodes.
Well, yes, but that was the shtick. It was like the only one person got to tell the story, but you have 30 minutes to tell a decent story.
Yeah,
it's not like this was a 2-hour-long show.
Oh, I agree. I'd be like, I'm not saying
a 2-hour-long version probably would have been good.
Yeah, if they would do like a movie version of it.
Now that being said, can I tell you my primary experience with Are You Afraid of the Dark when I was a kid? Despite the fact I watched very few episodes that I just barely caught any of when I was a kid. I had a video game. I know that surprises you. Our first computer that we had was a it was Windows 95 Acer Aspire. It was a really cool looking computer. I wish computers had that kind of design nowadays.
Yeah,
because it was still kind of artsy looking, but it was understated, so you don't have the big glowing lights like are down here by my knees right now. But that I don't necessarily need. But coming with that computer was a CD-ROM game based on Are You Afraid of the Dark?
really.
Yeah. And it was about as cheesy as the show, except you had, and have you seen the FMV games from this time period?
Yeah,
it's like that.
Okay.
Except the Midnight Society, who does start off the game because it goes through the whole shtick. You are the one that's telling this story, right? And then you go into it, and it's just this girl who, her and her brother got into this cheap movie theater, or this old magic theater, that's what it was. And then all the ghosts who are in there can't come alive and trap her in there, and now she's got to escape without falling into the trap that's going to kill her and her brother or whatever.
Oh, okay.
Because there's this teleporting box that will send you to the afterlife.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't kill you, it sends you to the afterlife. Because this is still a 1990s show.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Anybody?
Yeah, no, that was the Shadow Realm. That was entirely different.
Yes.
In the afterlife. But no, I had this as a kid. I never beat the game until the computer nearly died on us. Like, I would have been in high school by the time I finally beat this game.
Oh, wow.
Because, when I first had it, we didn't have internet.
Yeah.
So I couldn't go and look up what all the right directions were to go in this, because it was very much this big 3D maze puzzle game where you actually had to go and make the correct decisions at the correct points, otherwise the whole thing went to pot.
Right.
Mostly what I went around when I was playing the game was I would go in and I'd find some really fun way to kill myself. For instance, you're not supposed to go into the teleporter box and because you will get transported to the afterlife, right? You can go on stage, go into the teleporter box, and you get two options: up, down, and skull. Guess what button I picked?
Skull.
I picked skull. And I get transported, that character gets transported to the afterlife. And it comes back in the Midnight Society saying, but the ghost said not to pick the skull button. What kind of a storyteller are you? Get out of here. Something to that effect. I enjoyed the game for that. But it's been forever since I played it. And I doubt I can find it anymore. I can't even, it had a whole, the mystery itself had a name, but I don't remember what it was. I just remember it being, as a kid, I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
It was kind of creepy. It was cheesy, but it was still kind of creepy in a way that was just not stuff I dealt with a lot.
Fair.
But that's my main experience with Are You Afraid of the Dark, is this old FMV game with very low resolution video. Very low resolution video.
All right. So, what have you been watching? What have you been watching? What have you been listening to? And most importantly, what have you been playing?
Watching wise, not much outside of what we normally set up for this. There hadn't been any new movies come out that I wanted to go see. But gaming wise, I have been watching. I have been playing, or replaying, I should say, Spider-Man. The PS4 Spider-Man, except I'm playing it on PS5. So it's Spider-Man Remastered.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that the Spider-Man Remastered came out a year after the original game came out. Marketing! Of course, the fun part is they changed Peter Parker's physical model between games.
Fun.
Because the guy they originally did the 3D scan of.
Yeah.
I don't remember why, but they didn't use his voice for the game. So they went ahead and released it with the other guy's skin, and then for some reason then just went in, and even though the voice fit him,
Yeah.
they go in and scan the actual voice actor's face and use that as their model in Remastered.
Huh.
And in Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I assume Spider-Man 2, which I haven't played Spider-Man 2 yet. And Peter doesn't show up much in Miles Morales except in the Spider-Man suit, so you never get to see the face. Anyway, the game is fun. I'm going to try and platinum it, get all the trophies.
Okay.
Yes, Roy, I'm going to get all the trophies. You get none. But there's a running joke for you. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing. Why don't we go ahead and jump into the news?
The Cellcast News with your host Jacob Heron.
All right. Why, thank you, Dealit. And going into the bit of news we have. So we all know about the Warner Bros. Discovery debacle about how they cancel all these projects, put out some of them, including Urkel Saves Santa, which was a terrible movie. Go listen to that review if you dare, on wherever you listen to your podcast.
That movie should have been in Bad Movie Month.
You're not kidding, but it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
So, and then you have, I think they recently, Amazon Video recently released Batman and Cape Crusader. Be like, it's got 9 to 8 episodes. I know.
I still need to watch that.
Yeah, Keith Devotions has done a devotion over it. And I watched the first episode. That was good. I need to watch more. Just haven't had a chance to. And you had...
Do they release it all at once, or are they releasing it weekly?
No, they released it all at once.
Okay.
As far as I understand. But, like, then we know the debacle of Coyote versus Acme, or however you pronounce that. A movie that most likely...
Release it!
Thank you.
Zaslav!
But here's the funny part. They also had a film that got canned, but has been resurrected. And is going to be...
How bad is it?
I don't know yet. Hasn't been there. They just announced it the other day. Okay, so here's the article. Despite a period of uncertainty, fans won't have to say, "That's all, folks," to The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie.
Yeah. I forgot that was coming out.
Yes. Catch Up Entertainment announced it was had acquired the film from Warner Bros. Animation feature for the North American distribution from GFM Animation, which is heading worldwide sales of the 3D animated feature. So we're actually getting to see another film that got scrapped by Warner Bros. Discovery. Just saying, release.
How is
Slap Lab? Come on.
Here's the question. They have stated that Coyote versus Acme, along with pretty much everything else except for apparently Batgirl, from what I can tell, is pretty much available for sale if anyone wants to buy the rights to it to distribute it themselves.
Yeah.
Why is the company that's getting The Day the Earth Blew Up not also optioning off Coyote versus Acme?
Yeah, that makes no sense.
You would think they'd have gotten both, and maybe they have gotten both. They just can't announce the release of the other one because maybe there's still just a touch more work that needs to be done. I don't know.
Possibly.
But release the films, Zaslav. If you paid to make them, you should put them out.
I like it.
I don't care about your tax breaks.
Yeah, so those who with the ability and the finances, studios, what have you, be like, go in, grab that property, and let us, the fans, watch it, because we will go out and rent and buy this stuff from you, and you can gain revenue from that.
I guarantee you, as soon as it's announced that Coyote versus Acme is being released, we are scheduling it to review. I don't care how bad it is.
Oh, yeah.
Because this movie has been on my radar since it was announced and it was canceled because it was the first time we heard about it.
Yes.
Release the film. Release the film.
All right, so going into our last bit of news. So this, let's see, blah, blah, blah. DreamWorks released, DreamWorks Animation today on August 8th debuted a new trailer for The Wild Robot, the studio's upcoming adaptation of the #1 New York Times bestseller by Peter Brown. Universal Pictures is releasing the film, which has already generated plenty of buzz from its sneak peek from certain Comic-Cons. Which fall,
San Diego Comic-Con?
Yeah, San Diego Comic-Con and what have you. Its world premiere they haven't released what day it's going to be released. I think they have, but I just don't have the information in front of me. So if you know when this film is going to be released at theaters, The Wild Robot, please let me know in the comments down below or wherever you're listening to us. So with all of that said, that is all the news I have, unless Drew has something that I have either skipped over or, Coyote versus Acme somehow got dropped today. We're all like scrambling.
If it was, I would have been, and I wouldn't have been saying, release.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway.
Yes.
Why don't we talk about some Spy Family?
Yes.
James Bond Jr. Impossible. Call me big man if you want a rich man. When you want to face me, it's okay.
The man calls in stone. What an agent, what a squirrel. He's got the country in a whirl. What's his name? Shh, secrets.
Johnny Quest.
Anybody want a peanut?
I put that last sound clip in there. You'd think I'd remember it was coming.
You think?
But I forget.
By the way, to mad props to Drew for doing these bumpers. They're always fun, and he's always getting more and more creative with them, which is props.
I try. Sometimes I have to send it to Jacob, and Jacob says, try again. But
not that often. But it's
not that often.
But trim a little here. Well, like, what is this? I don't yeah, either or. Very good job, by the way.
Spy Family,
yeah.
Mission 15, a new family member. First aired on October 15th, 2022. Directed by Norihito Takahashi and written by Daishiro Tanimura. In this episode, after being rescued by Anya and a terrorist-trained dog, Lloyd welcomes a new member to the family, Bond, their new pet. This is the end of the Doggy Crisis arc. I love the name of this arc.
Crisis arc.
Yes, that is the name of this arc.
Arf, arf, arf.
Doggy Crisis arc.
Oh my gosh. What episode is this?
This is episode 15.
15, okay.
This is adapted from chapters 22 and 23 of the manga. Trivia for this: after Anya threatens to Lloyd and Sylvia that she would quit school if they don't let her keep Bond, she starts crying, whereas in the manga she didn't.
Really?
The imaginary scene of Yor and Bond is told differently from the manga. In the manga, Lloyd says dogs prefer plosives, meaning, like P names.
Yeah.
Or P words. And Yor mishears it as dogs prefer explosives.
Yes.
And the following scene shows her and Bond talking about using C4 for her assassin job. For the anime subtitles and dub, a more literal translation of the original Japanese text is used. Lloyd says that dogs can't tell consonants apart, and Yor mishears that dogs can't tell causes of death apart. And the following scene shows her shows as much with Yor and Bond.
Oh my gosh, Yor is just. Oh my gosh, that woman. Oh my gosh.
But here's a fun bit. In the anime's Castilian and Latin American Spanish dubs, the scene translates to Yor mishearing that dogs can't tell detonants apart.
Detonants apart?
Detonants. Because I guess that's the Spanish word for detonation or explosives. Anya is standing in front of Bond when she takes a bite of his food, while in the manga, she is standing beside him. That's just a little minor thing. But yeah, this is the end of our introduction of our newest member of the family, Bond Forger. What are your thoughts on this episode?
It's a nice little wrap up. It's more, you get the conclusion to what happened at the end of the episode, because you have Lloyd.
Well, the end of the last episode, you thought, well, that dog's dead.
Exactly. Exactly. It's this nice little cliffhanger that gives you this inch of dread. Oh my gosh, he has to kill the dog. And it's like, oh no, poor pup. And it's like, nope, he just kind of stuns the dog and throws the dog in the trash bin.
And says, if you're a good boy, I'll release you later.
And like,
we never see the dog released.
We never see the dog released. And then you get our the leader of the terrorist cell,
Keith.
Yeah, Keith.
Oh, this boy.
Yeah, he'd be like, aha, I got him. Boom. And it
Why did the river blow up?
And you get this amazing silhouette of
Lloyd.
Well,
let's face it.
Lloyd.
Agent Twilight.
And it's like, oh. He gets amazing silhouette with his glasses all lit up. And it's like, oh. He's like, what the crap is this guy? Oh, crap. So he drives off. And then Yor sees him and goes, this is revenge for you trying to kidnap Anya.
And then steps in front of the car, does a kick into the hood just against there, and knocks the car off into the light pole. And then she goes and calls police. Yeah, I'm the housewife from earlier who called about the alley terrorist. I found another one. I gotta go, by the way.
I gotta go. I gotta find my daughter.
Gotta go find my daughter.
Oh my gosh, it's absolutely hysterical because Yor, it's like she goes from, oh, I'm just sweet little Yor, and then be like, I'm gonna kill everybody. It's great. But then be like, you get
she's a killer cinnamon roll. That's all I'm saying.
She's a killer cinnamon roll. I'm gonna have to figure out what that means.
Well, she's a killer.
Yeah.
But she's sweet, like a cinnamon roll.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
A killer cinnamon roll.
A killer cinnamon roll. Okay. Anyways, like you get this nice little wrap up. Okay, all of our characters converge into one. It's like, oh, we're doing this. Oh, Lloyd was in the bathroom the entire time. We know what Lloyd was doing the entire time. But it's like, wow, oh my gosh, my food was terrible. Oh my gosh. Be like, I'm so sorry, Lloyd. I can't believe how terrible it was. The next episode explains that more.
We'll get into that, but
yes,
yeah, it's only barely been talked about so far that Yor can't cook.
No, she can't cook to save her life. But
poor Yor.
Oh my gosh, she like the next episode she tries a little bit better.
Yeah,
but you get this nice little wrap up of what be like. Okay, the terrorists have been taken into custody. They've got to figure out what they got to do with Mr. Doggy. And they're like, oh no, we got to take him in because he's part of this, specially trained dogs, and they're not safe out in the world by themselves. And poor little Anya's like, no,
I want this, Mr. Doggy. I thought you wanted a cute little dog. Well, I want this one instead. And if you don't give him to me, I'm going to quit trying at school. I'm thinking, if I said something like that, my butt would have got whooped. And I wouldn't have gotten to see Mr. Doggy ever again.
And Lloyd's like, oh my gosh, we cannot have that.
And it's not just that. Sylvia, the handler, says, okay, sure, you can have the dog. We don't care.
So, so here's that good thing about Sylvia and Lloyd, where they're sitting there in the open talking about the mission, and no one else is
Yor and Anya.
Well, Anya can hear them, but
not that it matters for Anya, but in front of Yor, who, bear in mind, she is an assassin for the rival government.
Yes.
And Lloyd doesn't know it yet.
Yeah. And you're just talking about this stuff in whispers, but it's like, because apparently they just tune Yor out where she doesn't pay attention to this. But it's just like, what in the world? Like, obviously Anya can hear you because she's telepath.
It would be one thing if they were using that weird communication thing they did in that one episode.
Yeah.
Early on, but they don't even do that.
No. But it's like overall, it's a great episode. We get the anticipation where Mr. Doggy's going to come home, and he comes home, and they're trying to figure out a name for him, and they're going on walks and the whole bit.
Yeah.
Like, how Mr. Doggy wants to protect her and the whole bit,
and saves her gloves from the other dog. Which,
and the other dog was hilarious.
Night, that was hilarious. Like, by the way, in all of Berlin, now Bond is the alpha male.
Yes.
He is the alpha.
And he literally just...
That bulldog is never going to do anything bad ever again.
Ever. And all he does is literally goes, woof, and pushes him over. Yes. That's it.
I love... Because Anya can actually hear the dog's mind.
Yes.
I like how the dog is basically Gollum. It's like, no, these are mine. My precious.
It's so good.
It's like, you could have done an Andy Serkis impression there and it would have been funny.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
These gloves are my own. My love. My precious.
Oh my gosh. But it's so well done. It's so fun. You get the revelation.
Mm-hmm. She realizes that, he's pretty much like Bond Man.
Yeah, Bond
Man. So
Man.
I'm going to name him Bond. Because he's even got gloves.
It gives him a bow tie.
The bow tie collar is a nice touch.
I agree. It is a fun little a good touch and an homage to James Bond himself, where he always wore a tie, unless you're Craig.
Daniel Craig.
Which Daniel Craig be like wears a tie every once in a while.
Well, he did in Casino Royale.
That's true.
But that was a different matter. But
so you get the whole, what's the family name?
Forger.
You get the whole family Forger together with...
They're a fake family. They're a forged family.
Yeah, forged family,
but
yes.
they're also a forged family in that they're a found family.
Yes.
Talk about double entendre.
Yes, I agree. So, and you get this nice little wrap up to the Doggy arc.
Doggy Crisis arc. I want to know who named this.
Yes, agreed. There's also...
I'm getting this from the Spy Family Wiki, which you take all this with a grain of salt.
Yes.
The fact that it's called the Doggy Crisis arc, it's like, okay.
Oh my word! It's good. Do not get me wrong. This is a wonderful episode. It is Spy Family to the T. It is absolutely hysterical because the amount of spy shenanigans that go on, that you have who is overreactive to everything. You have Lloyd, who's overreactive to everything. And it's like everybody's overreactive to every single little thing that's going on. It's like the drama is built to 11, and it's probably here, but it's up here.
Yeah.
And it's done so well. It's one of these. It's a spy TV show that's cranked to 11 to its funny, and it's just absolutely. It is just a gem of a show. I'm thankful that you decided to put this on the bracket to review, which is like, this is just good because you started talking about this 2 years ago.
It is during 2022 because I found it. Like not long after the Japanese version started, and I started watching it, and I found out Geek Devotions, Dallas and Celeste were watching it around that time too, and I brought it up during our What We've Been Watching segments during all that time, in both that spring and then that fall, and then we started, and that somewhere around there is when we started deciding to do the TAS stuff at the end of the episode.
Yes.
And it was in my mind, it's like, we're going to have to do this at some point. I don't know when. And let's face it, after Evangelion, this has been a breath of fresh air.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Not saying Evangelion is bad. It's just a different style of show. And this is a much lighter show. And that's what I appreciate about it.
Agreed.
Anyway. Mission 16. Yours Kitchen.
Oh, my gosh.
Also, The Informant's Great Romance Plan. First aired October 22nd, 2022. It was directed by Haruka Suzuki and written by Honoka Kato. In this episode, believing Lloyd may start to see her as useless, Yor asks her coworkers to teach her to cook. Meanwhile, Frankie goes to Lloyd to help to get him to help him ask his crush on a date. Poor Frankie.
Oh my gosh.
Technically, this is the beginning of the midterm exams arc, which they haven't mentioned that on the show, but it's coming. That's actually an interesting little revelation about how Anya's powers work. This adapts chapters 24 of the manga plus short mission 2. Trivia for this episode. This is the first episode of the anime divided into multiple segments instead of only one. In this episode, Camilla's front door is missing the gold knocker it had in episode 2. The scene with Dominic and Camilla near the end of the Yor's Kitchen segment is exclusive to the anime. Bond does not appear in the family outing of where the forgers meet Frankie. The bar Frankie and Lloyd visit at the end of the episode is slightly different than the one in Short Mission 2. The design of the seats and the front of the counter have been changed to match the design of the bar from Chapter 35, meaning that the bar Lloyd and Yor later visit in episode 24 is the same bar as the one in this episode. And the scene with Yor and Anya playing at the park is not included in the episode. I love how this episode really makes you think it's something horribly dramatic.
Oh, yeah.
Up until the point
of the tomatoes.
Really, it's up until you realize that the blood,
yes,
is actually crushed tomatoes. It's like, okay,
what are you doing, you idiot? Those squished tomatoes.
I have worked with the public. You've worked with the public for a lot longer than I have.
Oh, yeah.
But we have both worked in the grocery store, public, and
yes.
How stupid do you have to be to put something on top of your tomatoes? Granted, I have seen the results of eggs and bread where people just cram stuff on top of it.
Yes.
So this is not that strange.
No.
But still, it's like, you might want to let somebody else bag your groceries next time, because you apparently don't know how to do it. But yeah, we also get Yuri back in this episode.
Oh my gosh, Yuri.
And
poor dude.
We now know why.
Gosh, this is the best food ever.
We now know why he has the constitution to work for the secret police, because he had to grow up on Yor's cooking.
I can endure anything.
That boy.
Oh my gosh.
I should mention, we didn't bring this up, but Yuri did show up during the Doggy Crisis arc in a couple scenes, replacing a random person in the manga. But yeah, I actually do enjoy this episode. It is the beginning of a number of episodes that I feel is like when the show kind of takes a downturn a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's mostly because we're adapting only one chapter per episode instead of two. And admittedly, a lot of these chapters, having read the manga, don't really go that close together, even though they do, follow up. But I do like how this one actually is a direct follow-up to the last episode, where we find out that the reason she's trying to learn how to cook is because she's still embarrassed by how her cooking caused Lloyd to have to stay in the bathroom all day.
Perfect timing from the last episode.
And it's like, that's not why he was in the quote-unquote bathroom all day.
Yes, exactly.
But we can't tell you that, Yor.
No.
Because then you'd have to kill him. Because he works for the enemy.
And that would be a very interesting square off.
Have I told you where I think this show has to end?
No, you have not.
Okay. I have a fan theory that the secret government project that created Anya is the one that it was under the supervision of the guy that Lloyd is trying to trying to get around. And at some point, they're going to realize Anya is their escape test subject. They're going to get her back, and at that same time, Yor is going to get a mission from her handler to take out Twilight.
Yes.
And then they're going to realize they are both on the opposite sides of this war, of this Cold War, and they're going to have their own fight until they realize Anya's in trouble. We're her parents. We have to go save her.
Yeah.
And then they both go and kick the bad guy's butt and bring about world peace. That's
most likely.
That's my theory. An anime theory. Thanks for watching. Okay, moving on.
Oh my god. Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
really.
Yes, really. This episode is done very well because there again you get this lead in from the previous episode where Yor is desperately trying to improve her cooking because she thinks she's the worst and she believes that her cooking is going to be.
Well, it might be the worst.
It might be the worst, agreed, but she is so afraid that her cooking is going to lead to Twilight.
Or Lloyd
to divorce her, and she can't do her assassin job, and
she'll get picked up by the secret police. No, you're not, because your brother won't let that happen.
But
and neither will a secret assassin league let that happen.
No, that won't happen. But it's just like you get this very interesting perspective of this one episode with two different story beats. You have the cooking, and you discover more of her past and her brother's past, and it's like he's so desperate to like not please his sister, but more to encourage her and that kind of stuff, like a good brother would. But he's a bit of a weirdo about things.
If that food's so good, why are you throwing up?
Yes, exactly. I would hope be like if my younger sibling or my wife be like, I made something for them and it was like, this is absolutely disgusting, they wouldn't just start chowing down and vomiting all over them place themselves just to for my sake. Then it's like, oh my gosh, this is such great food, and then like they're sick for 2 months.
Would you rather them have the dramatic reactions that that Anya and Lloyd gave her to her dessert?
Oh my god,
that was a Yor original. Like the minute she said that's a Yor original, going, don't eat it.
Yeah, do yourself a favor and just don't do it.
No. But yeah, she does actually cook a good meal in this.
She does.
So I mean, she does at least grow somewhat, even if she does not understand the art of cooking.
No, she doesn't.
So, which is fine. Not everyone needs to be good at everything. I appreciate her wanting to be better at it.
Yeah, her desire to
be a good mother,
to be a good wife is driving her to that. And plus, she doesn't want her life, like what her purpose to be is to be in vain.
Yeah,
and not to like be a burden to anybody. She wants to be like, to all this good stuff. And
it's a good alibi for her, or good cover for her assassinating.
Oh my gosh, and then we get into Frankie.
Poor Frankie.
Oh my gosh.
Like, here's the thing about Frankie. I knew he was not going to get this girlfriend, and Lloyd does his best for the man.
Yes, he does.
It helps him so much. And Lloyd even thinks as he's leaving, he already has the stench of failure upon him.
Yes.
And it's like, yeah, this isn't going to turn out good.
No, it is not.
But what I appreciate more than anything else at the end of this is when Frankie is drowning his sorrows in the bar, Lloyd is right there with him and being a good friend.
Yeah, exactly. The part that got
the way
me,
men are friends.
Yeah, exactly. Be like, you're there for each other. It's like, okay, let's sit down. Like, don't even have to talk.
You don't even have to talk about it. Just be there for the guy.
Sit there and just be there.
And that's just how guys are.
Exactly.
If you don't understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
There was no lovey-dovey stuff going on between. This is just two guys who understand the crushingness of being alone.
Yes.
Being there for each other.
Exactly.
Just because Lloyd happens to now have a wife, technically, that's as far as he's conscious about. I'm going to put it that way. That's only for his cover. Yeah, let's face it, we know they're a found family and they're going to live happily ever after by the end of this, even if they have to, you know, kill all of Westalis and Ostania in the process.
Yeah, which seems to be the most logical conclusion to this show.
It has to be.
You would think, because it's most likely it'll, you know, going back to Frankie. Frankie, oh my gosh, poor dude. Like he's so convinced, be like, oh, she's the love of my life. I'm doing the good spy thing.
You're stalking her?
I'm stalking her. It's like, Frankie, that's not the way this works.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
And Lloyd,
like I would know I'm single as Pringle.
Someday, dude. Someday.
Yeah.
So Lloyd is trying to do his best. You get the point where he dresses as the girl
because of course he does.
Of course, it's Lloyd. It's Twilight.
I love her. You don't have to dress as her, dress up as her. And in the next scene, he's already dressed up with her and as her. And there's a note on screen that says he dressed up anyway.
Yeah. I was like, what in the? I was confused for a second. I was like, wait, what the? Nope. Is this the date? It's like, no, it's Lloyd. It's like, oh my gosh.
And I'm sitting there going, how do you know how this girl acts? You didn't see her. You didn't have anything to go off of.
Because he's a spy.
But he's not seen the girl. How would he know? And unless she was one of his prospective brides at one point.
Maybe.
Or he got far into that list.
Or it could be more of, like, he built a profile of her, and so he could build a possible generate a
especially
like a personality out of that.
Especially as knowledgeable as he is about women, he probably knows how they would react to some of things, and that's what he's trying to be there for us, to help Frankie just be able to talk to women. It doesn't necessarily have to be this girl.
Agreed.
Because it's definitely not going to be this girl.
No. Again,
but poor Frankie. Poor fuzzy head.
Poor fuzzy head. Yes, like this.
I love how Anya was like just as sad for him.
Oh yeah. Oh, fuzzy head. And it's like, oh, I'm sad.
She tries to console him by hugging his leg. It's like, don't console me. It's like, she understands you better than anyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
She read your mind. Which really, once you realize that, you'll be very protective of your thoughts going forward.
Yeah, exactly. Because here's another thing. When you have poor little Anya, it's like she's doing all these amazing things, but at the same time she has this little
no context.
She has no context for anything.
Well, back when she found out Yuri was working for the secret police, and she goes, "The secret police? What's that? What's that?" Sounds cool.
But it's like
okay, so that episode hasn't happened on Bondman yet.
No. So you have this, like, the trifecta of characters of Lloyd, Anya, and what's her name again? Yor. Be like, they're all trying to hide their identities from each other. Be like the one that because obviously Lloyd and Yor are just like, okay, they're just spies and assassins. But then you have this little girl of Anya, who is so desperate to keep her family, even though she knows everything could end very quickly.
Yeah.
And she's so afraid if she's going to do something wrong, like she's going to, like, Daddy's going to discover her powers. He's not going to love her anymore. So she's trying desperately to kind of appease her parents, her found family, her forger family. Her forged family. So it's be like you have this little girl, and I can't wait to see where the story progresses to, like, didn't you say before, be like they discover more, like, where her powers come from? And
we don't know that yet. I have theories, but we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
I will admit while there are some plot coming up in the next couple episodes.
Yeah.
The plot does slow down here.
Okay.
Because we're gonna because this was the first one, like I said, that has the first that it's done in 2 segments instead of 1. So a lot of these segments are like most up until now, each episode has been adapting 2 chapters of the manga.
Okay.
Yeah. The next couple episodes, they adapt 1 chapter of the manga and then the extra material that usually shows up at the end of an issue. and cut that in there in a way that makes sense in the story.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that does mean the plot slows.
Of course.
Now, that being said, there are 2 major plot points coming up. One actually deals with an interesting little quirk about Anya's abilities that are going to happen during the midterm exams. And it's not going to look good for Anya's grades. That's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
But that is coming sometime this arc, since the arc is named after that.
Okay.
But there's a couple other nice little stuff coming up. But in the meantime, you have anything else to add before we cut out of here?
No, I'm looking forward to what happens next with Spy X Family, whatever we want to call it.
Spy Family.
Spy Family.
The X is silent.
Okay, the X is silent. I am very curious where the story goes. I'm curious to, because we got a few things coming up down the pipeline, review wise, that I'm looking forward to. Obviously, we got Nate coming back. We got that big show for next week.
Ultraman Rising.
Yeah, we got Ultraman Rising.
And then we got Bad Movie Month coming up.
Yeah.
That's fun to do.
I agree.
Even though the movies are a slog to get through.
Yes, I agreed.
Which, considering some of the stuff on the docket this year, oh my word.
Yeah, you're not kidding. So, yeah, looking forward to what's ahead, and, yeah. That's all I got.
Yeah. So join us next week for a very uplifting movie with Ultraman Rising. And in the meantime, this has been Drew.
This is Jacob.
And we'll catch you in the next frame.
You can follow Jacob on his Facebook at Jacob B. Heron. His Facebook page, Jacob's Daily Art Corner, where he tries to draw each and every day. His Instagram at Jacob B. Heron. His Twitter at Jacob Heron. And his Letterboxd at Jacob Heron. You can find Drew on Facebook at Drew Dodgen. His Facebook page, Drew's Photo Bin, to see his photography. His Letterboxd page at GGeorge759. His Twitter at GGeorge759. And Instagram at Drew Dodgen. You can like us on Facebook at the Cellcast Podcast, on Twitch at the Cellcast Gaming, on YouTube at Cellcast, on Twitter at cast_cell. The Cellcast can be found at Apple Podcasts, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, or anywhere else fine podcasts are downloaded from. Please rate and review us where you found us, and also on Podchaser. Email us at thecellcastpodcast@gmail.com. The Cellcast is a proud member of both the Pop Americana and Culture Box media networks. For more information, please see the link in the description. Our theme song is Drop and Roll by Silent Partner. And remember, that's Cell with a single L.
Balto, I have something very important to tell you. You are adopted.
What?
I found you in a upturned cart of kibble.
What? I'm not a stork.
Goose,
Goose, whatever.
Balto Goosington, no.